Hi, this is Christina, and this is part 3 of the database project for the class HIN 620 Database Design Standards Access and Modeling. And this is a proposal to a diabetes clinic to argue for the advantages of instituting a diabetes registry into their practice. So here it is. It's called Improving Care of Diabetic Patients Through the Use of a Registry to Monitor and Track Changes in Health. Diabetic patients in clinic are currently monitored in a mostly ad hoc manner. They are scheduled for visits at our clinic where they receive services and are then treated based on the progression of the disease and new findings. A database that tracks clinic visits specifically for patients who have diabetes type 1 or type 2 will help our clinic apply data analytics to the way that we care for our patient base and help us identify and personalize care to patients who require additional services. The goals for the diabetes registry are to track labs and vitals and identify trends in individuals and also the wider patient base. The second goal is to pinpoint patients with lifestyle indicators that exacerbate the diabetic state. We can make inroads in these patient populations by forming support groups within our clinic that specifically address the challenges faced by these patients. And a third goal, to help our clinic best define how to provide more integrative care that provides for the patient's long-term needs and educates them on how to best care for themselves. So our pilot diabetes registry will contain the following information. It will contain demographics information about lab services, body metrics, frequency of acute events related to the patient's diabetic condition, a care plan that's comprehensive and fully updatable, detailed information about insulin use and glucose monitoring, a medication list that is capable of tracking changes in detail, and a comorbidity list that is linked to diagnosis date and diagnosing provider. At this stage, our diabetes registry is not that filled out, but here's an early version of what we expect it to look like. There is a demographics table, an encounter information table, a lab result table, a vitals table, that's the encounter non-lab table here, and a care treatment information table, and also a separate table that we will use to monitor or grade the reason for the visit, which we're going to define as a routine visit, a diabetes check visit, or an acute state visit of 3 different levels. Our workflow proposal is as follows. Patients will come into the clinic and self-report changes using an online application that populates for the patient already, if it's not the first time that they come in, all of the information from the previous visit, and allows them to review the information and make changes to their profile prior to meeting with the healthcare provider in this application. And when they submit this information, it is then sent to the nurse or medical assistant, and it is then the nurse and medical assistant's role to enter that demographics data into the database. The nurse or medical assistant, will then check the patient's vital signs and review changes to the profile with the patient, asking or double checking on any lifestyle changes, double checking information about any address changes, any new life events such as marriage or the birth of a child, and also enter this data for vital signs into the newly created encounter for the visit. And then finally, the provider is responsible for updating lab results, treatment information, and comorbidity information, and This registry will allow, in its final form, a way to track lab results from our clinic, but also from outside clinics. So we'll have lines that indicate whether the results are from our clinic or somewhere else. And that will give us a complete view of the patient's lab history. And the same goes for any diagnostic information. We'll have more detailed information related to when the patient received the diagnosis and the physician who gave the initial diagnosis. So it's very important to have stringent security measures in a database that's holding medical information. And we have created 4 clearance levels for the purpose of maintaining the data security and data integrity of this database. So the most open level will be for the database manager, who has the ability to perform all functions and oversee the creation of views, database maintenance items, quality control, and insurance data, and also monitor compliance of other users. We'll have a second level, which is the provider manager level clearance, which will be able to perform functions update, select, and insert for all of the tables in the database. A third level, which is a mid-level clearance that allows users to update, select, and insert a subset of tables, and they'll be unable to update medication information, lab information, and diagnosis information. And then a fourth level of clearance, which allows for the select functions only. In addition to that, we had earlier mentioned that the patients will be using an application to enter in any updates to their demographics. That's not a program that will be linked to MySQL, so it will be fully secure and designed to protect information and privacy as well. Our EMR is going to be the primary repository for historical information on the patient. However, if our clinic decides that they would like to have more historical information in the diabetes registry, we can build space in our demographics table for that. We have an example for people who have been introduced to MySQL below on how we would do that, and we would build a separate table for that. So as far as the utilization of the diabetes registry, we expect that the registry will be updated with every new patient visit and grow to encompass all of the patients in our clinic who have diabetes type 1, diabetes type 2, and pre-diabetic symptoms. We expect that it will track lifestyle and lab data. For example, any lab data with results above the target value. And that will help our practice identify patients who need additional services, additional attention, additional therapies, and possibly involvement in a support group. And we'll be able to search for patients and compare outcomes based on care, treatment, and lifestyle factors. And we'll also allow physicians to pull up customized views or request that the database administrator pulls up customized views to gain a snapshot picture of an individual patient or several patients. And there is a lot that you can do in MySQL to customize these views. So an example of customizing a view, we have the script here. It takes less than 5 minutes to write this script, and you can see here that you've basically queried the entire database, and you've pulled in the patient identifier in this column, their name, date of birth, sex, the unique lab ID, when the labs were drawn. And then you see all hemoglobin A1C results in the registry that are greater than 6.5, and that patient's fasting glucose that goes along with it. So what if we wanted to have more information in that view that also contains some lifestyle information. So we wrote a separate code, and it has all of the information in the last table here, in addition to a column for smoking status. 0 indicates no and 1 indicates yes. This is a binary data field. And then we have a field for hours exercised per week in this column. And here's a third example of a customized view where we have all of the information here from the first table, and we're tying in the medication information for this patient and whether or not they have the ability to monitor their glucose level at home. And as with the previous slide, this is binary data, so the 1 indicates that yes, they do have the ability to monitor their glucose level at home. So in conclusion, we hope that initiating standardized data collection and entry into a diabetes registry will give our clinic a simple and accessible way to monitor and measure changes in our patients' diabetic condition and overall health. And with this ability to quickly pull up a view to compare several encounters for labs, lifestyle, and treatment, we'll find that it's faster than scrolling through an EMR, and also the data is more dependable, as our clinic will be investing heavily in quality assurance programs to maintain data integrity and completeness within this registry. And we have the ability with this database to run fantastic data visualizations by converting the data into CSV format and importing it into a data visualization tool like Tableau, so that we can educate the entire clinic on the most relevant problems within our patient base. And thank you very much. That is the end of my presentation, and I hope that we were able to move forward with this diabetes registry in the following weeks. Thank you so much.